Hello, scholars. So we're getting down near the end of it. I appreciate the questions from this last week, and let me follow up on a couple of things for everybody, just for the sake of doing so. So, uh, if you've not seen, Bristol Community College just today has announced that we will be fully online over this summer. Now, this was not unexpected, as I've mentioned a couple of times before, and I answered some of your questions. I fully expected that we would go 100% online this summer. Now here we are. Uh, is it is it the best way for everybody to learn? Probably not. No. Is it the right thing to do? Absolutely. We're going to see waves of the coronavirus hit us throughout the next year, probably. And ensuring that our students at Bristol Community College are safe, well, that's probably the most important thing we can do. And the best way we can do that is by not putting you into small, compact rooms together where we're coughing on each other, touching the same things, breathing the same air. Right? If you're worried about that, please, shoot me an email. I'll help talk you through things. I'm going to be around this summer. I'm teaching another class this summer, so like, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm happy to have regular conversations with you to help you get through these things. Additionally, a lot of our questions from this last week centered on what are things going to look like here over the next few months. And man, I wish we knew. There are a lot of things on the board for this next fall, a lot of things that we're considering. But we're probably not going to make these decisions for another 2 months. I anticipate, and again, like, I'm going to use educated guesses based on my time here at Bristol Community College, my discussions with my friends around the country, my time spent teaching over the last 15 years. And I don't think that we'll make a decision on fall probably until the end of June, maybe even sometime into July. Bristol has a tendency to wait and see. That's not a bad thing, right? And we have to do that because, well, we don't really have the spending power of a lot of four-year institutions, of the private colleges in the area. Your Roger Williams, your UMass Dartmouths, your Harvards, they have so much more leeway to throw money at problems than we do. So we need to sit and watch things play out a little bit more. And even these schools are sitting and waiting. Nobody has announced what they're doing in the fall yet. Purdue University is one of the first schools to really start talking about having people back. And they're doing so because the president of the university there believes that young people are safe from the environment. But they haven't announced that they're officially going to be back in the physical classroom because we're waiting to see. We're going to get a lot of data from states opening up here over the next few weeks, over the next month and a half, and that's going to help us understand where we are and are not safe. It's going to help us understand what the best ways to set up our classrooms are going to be. It may not be that you're going to sit in a classroom with 30 people this next semester. It may be that we spread things out a little bit more. Maybe that we take those classes and we move them online specifically because they're too tightly packed in there. And your classes that have less people are more likely to meet in person, simply because it's safer. As I brought up a couple of times, we'll have better mechanisms in place to quickly move online if we need to. I mean, we can almost be guaranteed that several schools throughout the nation are going to experience virus outbreaks in this next fall. They're not all going to go online. A lot of them are going to come back, and somebody's going to get sick. And you can quickly see how easily that spider webs out through the rest of the university. Somebody goes to 2 or 3 days of classes because they're asymptomatic. They're not showing symptoms, and then suddenly they find out that they have the coronavirus. Hopefully they report that to the school so the school can take action quickly, but that we don't see that happen often. A lot of people hide problems like that. They don't want to be stigmatized. So we don't know about fall yet. And even now, like, there are some schools that are even drafting up plans for the spring. It's pretty weird to think that far in advance on this, but we don't know when the vaccine's going to be ready. That's when we're really going to be safe. And not exactly when the vaccine's ready, because we still have to mass produce it. Simply having a vaccine ready doesn't mean it's going to be everywhere. We can look at what's happened here over the last few weeks in coronavirus testing. Because we have a testing device set up does not mean that we can get everyone tested. We've been struggling with that from state to state, some much more than others. So we're in waiting mode. We're planning. We're hoping for the best. We're drafting up plans for that. We're drafting up plans for the worst. What I can tell you for sure, though, is, and even though we haven't announced it, but what I can tell you for sure is we will be back in the fall. We're not going to close down campus. We're actually better suited to stay open than a lot of other schools. When we think of a school like, well, Boston University that's talked about canceling their entire fall semester, they do that for a couple of reasons. One, they have a lot of dormitories, a lot of local student housing. And the prospect of opening those up only to have to close them rapidly and then clean them out and, and get everybody's stuff out of those buildings, that's nightmarish. We don't have to worry about that at BCC. We don't have any dorms. You all commute to campus, and that's okay. Beyond that, a school like that services a lot of people from outside of the country. Our international community is rather low here at Bristol Community College. We get a few people from Canada, a couple of people study from all over the country through our online portals. But we don't have to worry about the logistics of sending people to another country if we have to shut the university down for 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks. We don't have to worry about bringing them back. Because think right now, what if Harvard decided they were going to open up for the last 2 weeks of the semester? They can't get all those people to come back from other countries. One, that's an expensive trip for kids. Two, we're not even letting people travel into the country right now as a country. So we don't have to worry about those things. So Bristol is actually way more suited to stay open for the fall in some capacity or another. So we've at least got that going for us. And please, continue to send me other questions. I'm looking up some things for a few of you that I just don't know the answers to, and some of them haven't really been thrown at me. And if you see this before then, Wednesday of this week I'll be in a few different meetings with some people that are vastly more important than I am as far as the running of the school goes. And I should be able to ask them some very pointed, specific questions. If you've got anything you need to know for sure, get in touch with me, let me know. Now, this week, a couple of things we're going to do. Number one, we're going to continue on with the interview questions. So you finished up last week's, most of you, please, if you haven't, get back there, get that done, get those points. This week we're going to do part 2 of that. So we're only covering 10 questions when we look at the interview questions this semester. You should really be prepared to answer. There's so many different possible questions that come up. Like, be prepared for more than what's on this list. I just want to give you a chance to start practicing those answers, start working through what you might say. And then we're going to do a discussion. It's going to be an easy discussion this week, I hope. We'll see. And maybe you've looked at that already because I'm posting these things online at the same time. But what I want to know this week is what worked for this class this semester. Because I've mentioned several times over the course of the semester that this is sort of an experiment. Like, what can we make this class? How can we turn this into something? And where should the class go from here? Because typically when you rebuild a class, you need to teach it a few times to really get it right. And this is the first iteration of our newer version of Business and Professional Speaking Online. So I want to know, what did we do this semester that worked, that I should definitely keep for further iterations? Like, I don't need to know what didn't work. I already have a pretty good idea of those things. Though if you want to sit down and have those conversations, I'm happy to do it. And I swear to you, I won't hold it against you. Like, we can sit down in a chat room and you can look at me and be like, you're an idiot and this is the worst, and I'll be okay with that, right? That's still good feedback. But for the purpose of our discussion, we're going to focus on what went really well. Any responses, come in and agree or disagree. Explain why, right? That's probably the biggest thing, your explanation. What is it that you felt about those things? Why do you think we should continue to do similar things? So, and then beyond that, we'll have one more discussion than last week, as I'm sure some of you kind of actually want to keep in touch. And you can look back to this last week. Alyssa did ask who amongst you is playing Animal Crossing on the Nintendo, so you can get in there and send her your code, and you guys can share islands in the Nintendo. Otherwise, as usual, let me know what questions you have, what I can do to help out with things, and I will see you all online here very soon.